whole elevation of him as a freedom fighter.
Yes.
Which, as I said right at the beginning, there is no doubt that he was a brave soldier, a warrior, and that he was supremely anti-British, that he hated this tiger toy is an embodiment of that hatred. But freedom fighter, calling him a freedom fighter is stretching the truth, to a absurd extent, because in this fight against the British, he was actually taking the support of the French, and the French were no less colonial than the British. So if he had won, in Karnataka today, we would all be speaking French instead of Kannada. And we would be ruled by another colonial power. The French were as imperialist in their designs, right from the Carnatic Wars. And so the French, he would appeal on the basis of their rivalry with the British, which they had right from Europe. And the hatred and rivalry of the British and the French played itself out in the politics of India all through the 18th century. So he was just doing one against the other there. But to the Islamic world, the larger Ummah or the Brotherhood, he was appealing to their religious sentiments. As I said, all these achievements, he was wearing them as medals of honor. I've killed so many Hindus, I've killed so many Christians, I've broken so many temples. So I am the, pure Muslim ruler, not the Mughal. He's come under the, protection of a kafir, Mahadji Scindia. And so, break bread with me. Rather, we'll become allies. So he writes letters to all these people, the Shah of Persia, the Turkey Sultan, the Caliph, all these people. And also 2 years before he dies, he writes his letter to Zaman Shah, the Afghan ruler, Durrani ruler. And there's a clear plan that invade India. For 2 years, let's do this. The first year, let's flush off all of northern India from Kafirs. And then second year, let's, flush out the south from Kafirs. And then let us meet midway and then divide this whole subcontinent among ourselves and declare this as an Islamic caliphate. So such is the freedom fighter who wanted to actually establish either French rule or an Islamic caliphate is what India would have become. And even, 2 years before he dies, he has this, there's another tale of the absurd, which I would urge readers to read in the book, of this French guy called Ripaud. He comes ostensibly from Mauritius, but he's an imposter, he's a crook. So he comes there and tells him that we have kept a large army of about 10,000 people ready for you to fight the British. And so all his, advisors say, we find something fishy about this report. Let's not trust him. But this guy has lost his sense of, discretion. He is so taken in by report. They form a Jacobin club in Srirangapatna. And the Jacobins were the revolutionary, you had the French Revolution already there.
Yes.
And you had Louis XVI being beheaded and Mary Antoinette being executed. And you had the revolutionaries. And this Jacobin club was actually formed in Srirangapatna. There was a tree of equality, cap of equality planted. And he is called Citizen Tipu. And then they all, go around that
false
tree.
commemoration for
And he's singing the French national anthem, and he's Citizen Tipu for everybody. So and that report is such a fraud.
If you want to watch small segments of the podcast, subscribe to Dostcast Clips.
That, costly presence, he sends an entire embassy with him and his, emissaries to go to Mauritius, to the Isle of France, to get French support. And on the way, this report actually, pilfers all the treasures. He just escapes into thin air once they land in Mauritius. And out of 10,000 that were assured, only 99 people come to help Tipu. And even then, he doesn't realize that he has been fooled. So in fact, a very favorable biographer of him, Dennis Forrest, even he says at this juncture of his life, you see Tipu being inflicted by mental blindness and his story coming literally like a Greek tragedy into one where, absurdity, foolhardiness, it actually is a theater of the absurd. You actually feel sorry at times, like where is his mental capacity to think and take decisions in a sensible manner? He writes to Napoleon Bonaparte, and there are exchanges of letters between him and Napoleon. And Napoleon,
what?
Napoleon promises to come from Egypt all the way and help him, and the British actually intercept all these letters. So they are building evidence against him brick by brick. They have intercepted all these letters. There is a Malartic proclamation by name in Mauritius, where clearly the French are saying we are going to assist Tipu in defeating the British and eliminating them from India. Then you have all these emissaries to Zaman Shah and all these people. So the British have built a case against him. And the last Anglo-Mysore war, when Richard Wellesley is sent there, he comes for the kill. Cornwallis still gave him a lease of life.
Yeah, because he has the highest amount of military forces at that point,
Yeah.
right? He's ready to take over.
Yes, and so he has all this evidence and says, since you have planned to eliminate us, it is our right to counter you, to eliminate you. And that is how the fourth Anglo-Mysore War, the last Anglo-Mysore War, breaks out in 1799. And that also, the last few chapters which deal with that and his end, well, it is, as I said, a Shakespearean tragedy in the making. As it unravels verse by verse, you just see, you're blinded totally by your own hate, by your own megalomania, that you're unable to see things as they are. And so it's a case study of how a leader should not be.
Fascinating, man. One thing that Carl Jung says, who's, I'm sure you know, in a lot of ways the successor to Freud's ideas, because Freud became a little neurotic.
Yeah.
The psychologists are split on that. But he said, if you don't pay attention to your subconscious, it's going to slowly dictate your life.
Yes.
For someone who paid so much attention to his subconscious, I think his strategy was that he let it run his life.
Yeah.
Right, where you're supposed to be as a king or a ruler, use logic sometimes against emotion, against strong impulses, and take decisions to preserve your power.
Yeah.
He, I think, based on your book, was completely taken by omens and dreams and soothsaying and fortunes and mysticism in a way that is not fitting a king.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think that beyond all the forces gathering against him,